If you've been thinking about buying a presale in Greater Vancouver, but you're waiting for the rates to come down a little bit further before you jump in, I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why that might be a mistake and why you might want to make a move sooner than later. At the end, I'll talk through 2 specific scenarios for first-time homebuyers and for those of you that need to sell a property in order to buy a new build, and we'll discuss why this current environment is beneficial for both of those scenarios. By the way, I'm Vann, a real estate agent here in Greater Vancouver, and I help people just like you buy and sell real estate in the area. So if you're looking to make a move and you'd like to chat to see how I could help you, click on the link below and fill out the form. Let me know a little bit about what you're trying to do, and we can set up a time to connect. So if you're thinking about buying a presale, why should you not wait until rates come down a little bit further, either later this year or early next year, before making a move? If we step back a little bit and look at the bigger picture, what are interest rates doing? Over the past year and a half or 2 years, we've been at the highest interest rate that we've seen since the early 2000s. And earlier this year, the rate started coming down for the first time, dropping from 5% down to a key interest rate of 3.75% as of today in mid-November. Those elevated rates drove borrowing costs through the roof, and it made mortgages harder to qualify for. So what happened is naturally a lot of people stepped back and decided to hold off on their home search until things kind of leveled out. On the resale side, that resulted in more of a balanced market where we didn't have too much demand for the supply out there. But on the presale side, things slowed down significantly. I don't actually have the stats in front of me, but this past year in the presale market was probably one of the slowest in the last 20 years on the lower mainland. So with not as many people out there looking to buy new homes, it gave developers a reason to start incentivizing people. So they started getting creative with ways to incentivize people to come into presentation centers and buy new homes. So lots of developers are offering discounts off the purchase price. They're dropping deposits down from 15 or 20% to 5 or 10%. They're more flexible in allowing upgrades or a specific request from purchasers. And some developers are even buying down the rate on mortgages so they can offer purchasers a lower mortgage rate for the first few years after move-in. Now, even though they're offering all these incentives, it's still important to do your homework and make sure that A, you're not overpaying for a presale, because many of them do have a premium baked in over what you could find in the current resale market. And B, you want to buy into a very reputable developer with a good track record. So don't look at all these incentives and just go out and buy any random project. You still need to do your due diligence and make sure that you're paying a fair price with a good developer. Assuming we find a good developer that's offering a lot of incentives that brings pricing down into line with current resale values in an area, they're essentially offering all these perks to buy now at today's prices and complete 2 or 3 years down the road. So we're being offered incentives because of today's slower market, when the market 2 or 3 years from now, when that building completes, is more than likely going to be significantly better than it is today. So if we look at the resale market, this would never happen. If the rates are high and the market is challenging and there aren't that many people out there looking, sellers might be able to let a property go for less than they normally would in a hot market. But what's happening on the presale side right now is developers are giving people an opportunity to buy with all of these deals and essentially complete in the future when the market's going to be significantly hotter than it is right now. Again, it's always impossible to say for sure, but the way things are trending, we will be in a lower interest rate environment next year. And if it drops as much as predicted, things will probably heat up with all of the pent-up demand from people that have been sitting on the sidelines over the last year and a half. And at that point, all of those discounts and incentives probably won't be around anymore because developers won't have an issue selling properties as they are right now. And that's generally what happens, right? If we look at super busy markets in the past, developers were taking suite request forms, and there were more people asking for units than there were units available. Not saying that we're probably going to get to that point again next year, but it will be busier than it is right now, which will give developers less of a reason to incentivize people. The other thing that you can do now that you weren't able to up until a couple years ago is reduce the amount of risk in getting a mortgage on a presale property. Certain lenders are offering programs where they fully pre-approve you now, and they don't do it again before the completion date. In the past, they used to offer a rate hold, but closer to completion, they would actually go through and make sure that your financing would get approved, which was an additional risk for a lot of people. Because say you buy a presale today that completes 4 years from now, what happens if you get laid off shortly before that property completes and you can't get financing? So with these new programs, it takes that element of risk away. And in a lowering rate environment like we're in right now, it offers the best of both worlds. So you get fully pre-approved at today's rate, so you know when that property completes, you'll be able to get that mortgage. And if the rates drop between now and when the property completes, you'll get the lower rate. So for first-time homebuyers, if you're looking to get your foot in the door, but you don't want to pay today's rates, this is a really good opportunity because you can take advantage of all the discounts and bonuses that are happening right now. You can get a full pre-approval from a lender to ensure that there's no risk when that property does complete. And by the time it's move-in ready, the rates will almost certainly be lower than they are today. So you'll be locking in today's prices and getting a lower rate, which is really difficult to do in any other scenario. Now, if you're planning to sell an existing property and move into a new build, you can also take advantage of the best of both worlds, because if you lock in today, you're still taking advantage of all of those incentives. And when it comes time to sell your existing property before your new home completes, the market for sellers will likely be better than it is right now. So you'll almost certainly get a higher sale price and have an easier time selling. So if you fit into either of those categories and you'd like to chat about how I could help you through this process, click the link below and fill out the form. Let me know a little bit about your situation and I'll see how I can help.